Hi, I'm a librarian here at the University of Illinois, and I have lots of graphic designer friends, and I always ask them, how do I improve my visual images and how do I make things better? And they can tell me when I'm doing it wrong, but they can't always tell me what I should do to make it better. So I've been compiling lists over the ages to try to make this easier to give to other people because we make so much visual information in the library. So this is a serif. And this is a sans serif. A lot of you are going to giggle. You already know this. Back in the day, the Romans used to carve out of stone all of the letters. So when they painted on the guide before they carved it out of stone, there were like little brush marks. And supposedly, that's where serifs came from. Anyways, now you know. This is a really cool picture. This is a typographic setting laboratory of sorts. So the difference between typeface and font, we use them interchangeably now, but typeface is the actual design of the typography. It's the length, the serif, the way it curves. Font is actually the variation on that typeface. So you used to say, if you want to change the design of something, you change the typeface. If you just want to change the size, you change the font. Now, in most of your word processing programs, typeface and size are right next to each other, so we don't know the difference between those two anymore. Tracking. Have your letters close together, or have your letters really far apart. Usually now you can only do condensed and extended in most word processors, which is kind of sad. But I encourage people, extend away. Kerning is not the tracking between individual letters, but it is the space. It's not the space between all the letters. It's the space between the individual guys. Lots of times, if you have something perfectly tracked out in the right physical measurement between the letters, it will look wrong anyways because of the curve of the letters. O's are really wide open and R's have that funny little leg. So sometimes you want to kick things a little closer together even though measurably they're actually almost the same size. H is for Helvetica and all these lovely different sizes. We've got 500, 50, and 25. When you open up most word processing programs, it's going to start you in 12-point. And when you start in PowerPoint, it's 28 and 36. If I'm not mistaken, don't worry about that. Don't use them. You don't need them. I say up the fonts and down the fonts. It's really not that big of a deal. Be more creative with it. Don't let them hemp you in. And when you increase in multiples by the same amount. Graphic designers know this. They don't tell anybody that. Just use the same multiple. Then you've got it. You can use alignment to create hierarchy. There's no reason you need to use a paragraph. Get rid of it. This is an example of font families. So this is all Garamond in a typeface, but they're all different families. So you have italics and underlines and bold. And you can create hierarchies in your document with one type format. You don't need to change it every time. Just put it in italics. This is my good friend Tufty. I went to a conference with him over the summer, and if you don't know Tufty and you are a librarian, you should look him up because he's pretty much really important in the field of visual information. And here's my Tufty presentation of short. The biggest way you can find out information about something is by having a noun and a number. So this is a glucose level of 128. What does that mean? You need a lot of specialized knowledge to understand what a noun and a number means. And lots of signs in libraries say academic literature, 3.25. Nobody knows what that is. Oh, it's a little light. Can you see it? So this is what we call a spark line. This lovely little generated line here. This is going to give you some information about what we're looking at. It's saying that there's a transfer of time. It's saying that I've taken a lot of different glucose levels throughout this reading with this patient. And suddenly we have more information by simply marking the last point of reference that we used, our last measurement on our graph, and by graying out the average amount, the normal amount of glucose levels. We've created a tiny, simple graph that is embedded in our literature that can go right next to your text that is telling you how much your patient is normal or how much your patient is not normal and how much it has gone over about 100 different readings. So it's a way of visualizing your data within your text. And you can imagine what this would do to something as important as medical records. If you see numbers and you have a temperature reading that looks normal for today, you maybe don't know that yesterday and all week it's been peaking at the same time at noon, which is in correspondence to the glucose levels. Obviously, this makes a lot of sense in terms of medical terms, but I think we can use these pretty basic principles in our own information design. We create a lot of data. We have lots of numbers. We have so much information. There's some really great ways that we can use these pretty simple integration programs in our visual design. So Google Sparkline Generator, and you'll get like 10 responses, and they're all really great, and you can copy and paste them into whatever you are working in. So this is a wonderful, beautiful graphic image, and this is good old Da Vinci. He was really good at drawing. If you hold your arm out with your hand down, your arm is one length, and if you turn it up, your arm suddenly becomes shorter. It's magic, but no, it's actually not. Da Vinci drew it out, and he measured it, and he wrote all about it, and he showed you physically why the difference is because of your muscles and the relationship to your bones. This is a beautiful image. He just took a drawing, and he wrote about it, and he put the math on the same page. We can do that in libraries. Put your drawing and your math on the same page. Here's another beautiful one, skiing down a slope. It's got my words, it's got my pictures. You can do this in a photocopier, just with a pair of scissors. This is good Galileo, and he's doing small multiples. So if you want to show change over time, you're going to want to just put it right there in your text. New moon, old moon, mid-moon. Ah, dang. And here's Muybridge doing the same thing, creating small multiples to show us change in time so we can create smaller images that are showing us how we actually move through our space. And there is our lovely grid. I want to inform everyone you don't have to keep in the grid. You can break out of the grid. But just like you create a paper with paragraphs and essay forms, you're going to create a visual grid of every document. Stick with it and break it in the same kind of formats. Thank you very much.